The night my son stormed into my house, rain dripping from his eyelashes, he looked at me with a fear so deep it sliced straight through my ribs. "Mom," he whispered, voice shaking, "you don't know who you married." Welcome to Voices of Mama Joe. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you'll love it if you keep listening till the end. The storm outside rattled my windows like a warning from heaven, but I sat there in my rocking chair, wrapped in my soft blue shawl, pretending my heart wasn't pounding against my ribs. I was 67, too old, I thought, for mysteries, for secrets, for the kind of trembling dread that made your fingertips go cold. But that night, something in the air felt wrong, heavy, thick. Like the world was holding its breath. The lamp beside me flickered faintly, its warm gold light painting soft shadows across my living room, the same room I'd spent years filling with little things that made life feel gentle. Ivory curtains, rose-patterned pillows, a frame of Marcus's fifth-grade picture on the mantel, his missing front tooth making his smile lopsided and beautiful. That photo was the first thing my eyes drifted to when Leonard, my new husband, started coming home later and later. And when he came home with new cologne I didn't recognize, and when I found receipts tucked too deeply into pockets, I'd look at that picture and whisper to myself, "Don't think too much, Ruth. Don't go creating storms where there aren't any." But that night, the storm wasn't in my mind. It was pounding at my front door, a hard, urgent knocking. I stood slowly, my bones stiff from the cold, and opened the door just as a gust of icy wind swirled around my ankles. And there he was, my son Marcus, breathless, drenched, and furious. His shirt clung to his chest, soaked from the rain, and his brown eyes, usually warm like caramel, were wide with something I hadn't seen in him since he was a child running from nightmares. He stepped inside without waiting for permission, water dripping from his sleeves onto the hardwood floor. He looked around the living room as if checking whether something dangerous lurked in the shadows. "Where is he?" he demanded. "Marcus," I breathed, clutching my shawl tighter. "What on earth? Where? Is Leonard?" His voice shook. I swallowed hard. "He stepped out. He said he needed to help a friend with something. He should be back soon." The look on my son's face. Oh, I will never forget it. His jaw tightened, his nostrils flared, and his hands curled into fists the way they did when he was holding back pain. "Mom," he said again, quieter this time, "we need to talk." He sat heavily on the couch, leaning forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. He looked like a man bracing for impact. I moved to sit beside him, but he held up a trembling hand. "No," he murmured. Just listen first." I froze. The storm outside roared louder, rain pelting the windows like desperate fingertips. Marcus ran a hand through his wet hair, pushing it back from his forehead. His whole body was shaking, not from the cold, but from something deeper, something raw. "Mom, Leonard is not who you think he is." There it was. The sentence no mother wants to hear about the man she allowed into her heart after years of loneliness. I took a slow breath. "I know you've been skeptical. This isn't skepticism." He shot up to his feet and paced the room, boots leaving wet footprints. "This is danger." My stomach dropped. "Marcus," I said softly, "you're scaring me." He stopped pacing, turned toward me. His face softened, not with gentleness but with grief. "Good," he whispered, "because you should be scared." My knees weakened beneath me. I clutched the arm of the sofa, steadying myself as the lamp flickered again, casting streaks of light across Marcus's troubled face. "What did you find?" I asked. He hesitated. For the first time in years, my son looked like a little boy again, afraid, confused, unsure whether telling the truth would fix things or destroy them. Then he took a deep, broken breath. "I found out Leonard has another name," he said. "He has another life." My heart lurched. "What?" "He's been lying to you since the day he met you." I pressed a trembling hand to my chest. "Marcus, that's a very serious accusation. And I have serious proof." He pulled a folded paper from his jacket, slightly damp from the rain, and placed it gently into my hands as if afraid I might break. I unfolded it slowly, my fingers shaking. A background check, a name I'd never seen, a face that was undeniably Leonard's, staring back with colder eyes, a record I never imagined. Fraud, identity theft, financial manipulation. The room spun. "No," I whispered, "this can't be real." Marcus knelt before me, taking my hands in his. "Mom, please, I've spent the last 2 months digging. I didn't want to tell you until I was absolutely sure. But tonight," his voice cracked, "tonight I overheard something. A conversation about you." My breath hitched. The rain outside thundered louder, drowning the silence between us. What did he say? I forced the words out, even though my heart already knew they would hurt. Marcus blinked back tears. "He said you're worth more to him married than alone." The room tilted. I grabbed the arm of my chair, nails digging into the fabric. The light flickered again, washing Marcus's face in a trembling gold. I don't understand," I whispered. "Worth more how?" He swallowed. His throat bobbed. "He's planning something with someone else, a woman. They mentioned your house, your savings, your pension." His voice broke. "Mom, they were laughing." I felt something inside me crack, like a thin layer of ice over deep water. My breath trembled out of my lungs in shaky little pieces. The warmth of the room felt suddenly cold, as if the air itself had turned its back on me. Marcus squeezed my hands tighter. "I begged you not to marry him. I begged you to slow down. But you thought I was being dramatic." He looked away, hurt flickering across his face. "You didn't trust me." "Marcus," my voice collapsed in my throat. "I'm so sorry." He shook his head. "I'm not asking for an apology, Mom. I'm begging you to leave this house tonight." "Tonight?" "Yes." His voice was a whisper of urgency. "Before he comes back." Thunder cracked outside, shaking the walls. I stood there trembling, the paper still clutched in my hand. The words fraud and theft and alias burned into my eyes. Leonard. My husband. My comfort after years of quiet loneliness, the man who kissed my hands when I cooked for him, the man who massaged my shoulders when I felt tired, the man who whispered, "I'm here now, Ruth. You'll never be alone again." Was he all a lie? The front door suddenly creaked. Marcus's eyes widened. His head snapped toward the sound. Footsteps on the porch, slow, confident, familiar. "Mom," Marcus whispered, grabbing my hand. "He's back." My heart thudded so loudly it filled my ears. The lamp flickered one last time and then went out, plunging us into a dim, trembling darkness lit only by the storm outside. Leonard's key turned in the lock. And in that moment, in that breath between the click and the door opening, I realized my life was no longer the quiet, gentle thing I thought it was. Something was coming. Something terrible. Something I wasn't prepared for. But I would face it. Because now, I knew. My new husband was a stranger, and I had no idea what he wanted next. Leonard's silhouette filled the doorway like a shadow rising from a darker, older world. A streak of lightning flashed behind him, outlining the sharp edges of his face, the same face I had once trusted without hesitation. His coat dripped rainwater onto the floor, the droplets tapping against the wood like a slow, ominous clock. Tick, tick, tick. Marcus tightened his grip on my hand. His body went rigid, protective, as though he were bracing against a storm far bigger than the one battering the windows. "Ruth," Leonard called softly into the dim room. His voice was calm. Too calm. "Why are the lights out?" My breath caught somewhere inside my chest, stuck, trembling, unable to move. Marcus leaned close to my ear. "Don't speak," he whispered, but my voice slipped out anyway, quivering and small. The lamp died. Leonard stepped inside and closed the door behind him, gently, almost lovingly. That gentleness made my stomach twist. It wasn't real, not anymore. His eyes adjusted to the darkness, flicking from me to Marcus. And just like that, the air in the room changed. The facial expression Leonard wore when he saw my son. Oh, I'll never forget it. His smile flickered, then faltered. His jaw tightened so subtly I would have missed it if I didn't know him so well. "Marcus," he said, voice polite but with a tense edge beneath it, like a taut string pulled too tight. "You're here late." Marcus didn't answer. Leonard stepped forward, brushing droplets of water from his sleeves. "I didn't hear your car outside." "I walked," Marcus replied evenly. "Walked? In this weather?" Leonard chuckled softly. "That seems dramatic." The way he said dramatic made something cold move through my veins. It was the same tone he sometimes used when I forgot where I'd placed my glasses. Light teasing, yet somehow belittling. Marcus took a step in front of me, shielding me from Leonard's view. "We need to talk," he said. Leonard tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing in curious amusement. "Oh? About what?" I could feel Marcus vibrating with anger barely held together by a thin string of control. "Your name," Marcus said, "your past, your lies." And for the first time since I had met Leonard, I saw him freeze. Just a second, a blink, but I saw it. A flicker of something sharp behind his eyes. Dangerous. Then, as quickly as it came, he smoothed his face into a soft, concerned smile. "Ruth," he said gently, "did something upset him?" Marcus stepped closer to Leonard. "Don't talk to her like she's confused. She's not confused. We know." Leonard's smile didn't crack, but his pupils tightened. His breathing slowed. "What?" he asked. "Do you think you know?" Marcus pulled the damp background check from his pocket and held it up. Lightning flashed again, illuminating Leonard's face as he stared at it. His expression didn't move. Not a twitch, not a flinch, only silence. Until he let out a small breath. "Oh," he said at last, "you found that, as if it were a misplaced grocery list, that as if it weren't a second identity, that as if it weren't a trail of financial crimes tied to his past." "Mom," Marcus whispered, "get your purse. We're leaving." My legs refused to move. My throat tightened. Leonard slowly lifted both hands, palms up, as if surrendering. "Ruth, sweetheart, let me explain." Sweetheart. My heart cracked hearing that word. Sweetheart had once soothed me, wrapped itself around my loneliness, held me through quiet evenings, but tonight it sounded like bait. "I know what this looks like," Leonard continued, his voice a calm ocean trying to swallow every wave. "But it's not what you think," Marcus scoffed. "You have another name, another life, records sealed under a fake identity. What exactly aren't we thinking correctly about?" Leonard sighed softly and sat on the armchair across from us. The lamp remained dead, so only the storm-lit windows cast shadows across his face. Behind him, the curtains swayed like uneasy spirits. "Your mother knows," he said quietly. My breath stopped. "Knows what?" Marcus snapped. Leonard looked at me, straight into me. His eyes didn't ask permission. They demanded the truth. "Ruth," he said gently, "tell him." My lips parted, but no sound came, because I had nothing to tell. Nothing he claimed I knew. Marcus stiffened. "What are you talking about? She doesn't know anything. You're manipulating her." Leonard shook his head. "No, Marcus. Your mother knew exactly who I was when she married me." He gave me a soft smile. "Didn't you?" His lies draped over me like thick smoke. I didn't," I whispered, my voice trembling. Leonard's expression shifted, just a fraction. Enough for me to see annoyance break through the mask of kindness. "Ruth," he said more firmly, "we talked about this." Marcus stepped in front of me again. "Stop talking to her like she's your puppet." Leonard rose slowly from the chair, and suddenly he was taller, much taller, or maybe the room had shrunk. He took one step toward us, then another. Marcus placed a hand out, keeping Leonard from coming any closer. "Leonard," Marcus said through clenched teeth, "I'm warning you. Stay back." Leonard paused, staring at my son, measured, calculating, studying him the way predators study prey that dares to stand tall. Lightning flashed behind him again, illuminating the sharp glint in his eyes, a glint that wasn't there the day he stood beside me in our little courthouse wedding, a glint that wasn't there when he held my hands and told me I'd never be alone again, a glint I had never seen, because I had never known who he really was. Then Leonard spoke softly. "Marcus, I understand your concern, truly. But your mother and I have an agreement." "What agreement?" Marcus shot back. Leonard looked at me again, deep, searching, pinning me in place. "Ruth," he murmured, "tell him." Something inside me cracked open. Wide, trembling, painful. I pressed my hand to my chest, feeling my heartbeat flutter against my palm. "Leonard," I whispered, "why are you doing this?" His expression changed. Gone was the gentle husband. Gone was the reassuring partner. Gone was every softness I had ever believed in. What replaced it was colder, older, like steel forged from secrets. Then he spoke the sentence that made Marcus lunge toward him with fury I'd never seen before. "Because Ruth, everything you have, everything you've built, everything you've saved," his smile curved, cruel and quiet, "it belongs to me now." My breath shattered. Marcus's hand clenched, ready to strike, but I grabbed his arm, stopping him. "No, Marcus," I gasped. "Don't!" Leonard's eyes glittered. "Listen to your mother." Marcus turned to me, his face breaking in disbelief. "Mom, what are you doing? We have to leave, now. But my body had already gone still, frozen. Not from fear, not from shock, but from a sudden, piercing clarity I did not expect to come, because in that moment, in that dimly lit room, with Marcus trembling beside me and Leonard standing like a shadow ready to swallow my world, I realized something powerful. Leonard was expecting me to run. He was expecting me to panic. He was expecting me to crumble, and I would do none of those things. Not yet. Instead, I lifted my chin slowly, letting my voice steady itself on the trembling air. "Leonard," I said softly, "you're mistaken." His brows furrowed. "About what?" I stepped forward, moving past Marcus, feeling my spine straighten as a strange strength curled through me. "That everything I have belongs to you." Leonard stared at me, face unreadable. Marcus looked between us, breathing heavy, confused, and scared. And the storm outside grew louder, as if the sky itself leaned in to listen, because none of them knew. Not yet. But tonight, in this very room, I had decided I would not be the prey. I would be the storm. The storm outside had softened into a steady drizzle, but inside my living room, the air pulsed with something electric, something sharp enough to cut through bone. Marcus stood protectively beside me, his chest rising and falling with quiet fury, while Leonard watched us with the stillness of a man who had already decided the ending to a story only he believed he controlled. I adjusted my shawl, the soft blue wool slipping slightly from my shoulder. That shawl had comforted me through lonely nights, through birthdays spent alone, through quiet mornings when I whispered to God asking if he still remembered me. Tonight, though, it felt like armor. Marcus's hand brushed my elbow. "Mom, please, let's go. We can pack your things later." Leonard laughed, not loudly, not mockingly, but with a soft, chilling amusement, like a man who finds humor in watching someone make the wrong move. "Marcus," he said calmly, "your mother isn't going anywhere." His eyes slid toward me. "Isn't that right, sweetheart?" The way he said sweetheart this time felt like a leash tightening around my throat. I inhaled slowly. "I will go if I choose to." Leonard's jaw twitched, barely visible, but I saw it. I'd spent enough evenings on the couch beside him, enough dinners, enough conversations, to know every micro-expression of that man. The twitch wasn't anger. It was irritation, inconvenience, as though my independence were a fly buzzing near his ear. "Marcus," Leonard said, me turning toward him again, "I know you're upset, but you're young, emotional, and—" "I'm 38, Marcus snapped. "Young isn't the problem, your lies are." Leonard sighed, the shake of his head slow and patronizing. "Your mother and I have things worked out. You don't need to worry." "I'm her son. Worrying is my job," Marcus shot back. Lightning flickered faintly. A soft rumble of thunder rolled low across the sky. Leonard stepped closer to me. Marcus immediately blocked him. "Back up," Marcus's voice was low, dangerous. Leonard raised both hands as if in innocence. "I'm only trying to speak to my wife." "Wife." The word throbbed painfully in the air, reminding me that I had let this man into the deepest chambers of my life, into my finances, into my home, into my heart. "I'd like a moment alone with Ruth," Leonard said gently. "No," Marcus replied instantly. Leonard smiled. "I wasn't asking you." Marcus stepped forward. "And I'm not negotiating." The tension thickened. I could almost feel the weight of it pressing into my skin, making every breath tight. Then Leonard did something that made a shiver crawl up my spine. He turned away from Marcus and addressed me again, slowly, softly, as though my son were an insignificant child interrupting grown-up matters. "Ruth," he murmured, "may I please speak to you in private?" My eyes flickered to Marcus. His entire body was a coiled spring of rage. "No," I said. Leonard blinked. Once, twice. "No?" he repeated softly, as if the word itself confused him. I straightened my back. "Leonard, whatever you have to say to me, you can say it in front of my son." Marcus's fingers tightened around the back of the sofa. I could feel how hard he was fighting not to explode again. Leonard exhaled through his nose, long and controlled. "All right," he said quietly. "Then I'll say it plainly." He reached into his coat pocket. Marcus lunged forward, but Leonard only pulled out a folded piece of paper, a legal-looking one. He placed it on the coffee table gently, smoothing it flat with his palm. "This," he said, tapping the page, "is the agreement Ruth and I made." I frowned. "What agreement?" Leonard's gaze sharpened, but his voice remained soft. "Darling, you signed this." "I signed nothing." My voice trembled. Marcus grabbed the paper first, opened it. His eyes widened. "Mom," he whispered, this is a living trust document." My heart dropped. "A what?" "It names Leonard as the sole trustee of your estate." His voice shook harder. "Everything you own would pass to him immediately. The house, the savings, your pension." I stared at the paper, the ink, the neat legal formatting. I felt my pulse throb painfully at my temples. My signature sat at the bottom, perfectly written, perfectly forged. But to the law, it would look real. "I didn't sign this," I whispered, feeling my knees go weak. Leonard moved closer. "Ruth, honey, you did." Marcus shoved him back. "Stay away from her." Leonard's eyes flared, not with fear, but with annoyance. "It's your mother's handwriting. Are you suggesting she's lying, that she doesn't remember what she signs?" That sentence wasn't random, it wasn't careless. It was a tactic, planting doubt, weakening my credibility, making Marcus question my memory, my clarity, my mental state. I had seen this tactic years ago, when a neighbor's son manipulated his mother into signing real estate papers she didn't understand. Leonard had watched that situation unfold with unnerving interest. I hadn't noticed the look in his eyes then, but I remembered it now. Cold, calculated. I took a shaky step backward, my breath shaky. Marcus crumpled the paper in his fist. "This is forgery, fraud, and you're going to prison." Leonard shrugged lightly. "I'm afraid it won't be that simple." Oh, how calmly he said it, how confidently, as if prison existed only for other men, never for him. Marcus stepped forward. "Try me." Leonard eyed him coolly. "I'll remind you, you're trespassing. I can call the police right now and report the two of you as uncooperative and threatening." My heart dropped. "Leonard, please don't do this." But he was already reaching into his pocket. Marcus's fists clenched. "Touch that phone and I swear." I grabbed Marcus's arm. "Stop, please." Leonard pulled out his phone, slowly, deliberately. "No one has committed a crime here," he said, "except perhaps your son, interfering in legal marital affairs." His voice carried a venomous politeness that sent a chill down my spine. "Call them," Marcus said. "I'll be happy to explain your forged trust document." Leonard's smile thinned. "Proving a forged signature is difficult and expensive, something your mother can't afford." He looked at me, a soft, pitying look. "Ruth," he whispered, "I only want what's best for you." Marcus laughed, bitter, shaking. "You're unbelievable." Thunder rumbled again, deeper this time, rolling through the house like a warning drumbeat. Leonard slipped his phone back into his pocket. Then he stepped toward the hallway. "I'm going to shower," he said quietly. "I'm soaked. When I come back, we'll talk like adults." Marcus stepped forward, but Leonard lifted a hand. "Oh, and Ruth?" I forced myself to look at him. His eyes were a dark, empty well. "You should tell your son the truth." His voice dripped with cold insinuation. "It's time." He disappeared into the hallway, and for a full 10 seconds, no one breathed. The house creaked softly. Rain tapped rhythmically at the windows. The faint hum of pipes groaned as the shower turned on in the bathroom down the hall. Finally, Marcus turned to me, eyes wide and terrified. "Mom, what truth is he talking about?" I sank into my chair. "I don't know." Marcus knelt in front of me, gripping my shaking hands. "He's manipulating you." "I know," I whispered, tears gathering in my eyes. "But Marcus, he's confident, too confident. He must have something else, something we haven't seen yet." Marcus swallowed hard. "What if he's already moved money, or taken something, or—" A sound interrupted him, a soft thud. From upstairs, we both froze. Another thud, a drawer opening, then a chirping sound, a phone notification. But it wasn't Leonard's phone, it was mine, on the side table. A new message, from an unknown number. I reached for the phone with trembling hands. Marcus leaned over my shoulder. A single-line message stared back at us. "Ruth, you are in danger. He is not alone." My breath left my lungs. Marcus whispered, "Mom, who sent that?" I shook my head. I don't know." Another message came through instantly. "Do not trust Leonard, and do not trust the woman in the red coat." Woman, red coat. I felt my skin prickle. Marcus swallowed. "Mom, who is that?" And for the first time since this nightmare began, a memory resurfaced, a woman I had seen 2 days ago, standing across the street, watching my house with cold, deliberate eyes, wearing a bright red coat. At the time, I told myself she'd simply been passing by, but now I wasn't sure. I stared at Marcus, my voice barely a whisper. "Marcus, I think this goes deeper than Leonard." His eyes widened. "How deep?" I looked toward the hallway where Leonard showered, calm, confident, unbothered. Then toward the window where the rain fell against the glass in silver streaks. "I think," I whispered, "we're not dealing with one liar." My heart pounded. "We're dealing with a plan." The rain slowed to a thin silver curtain outside my window, but inside the house, a different kind of storm had begun, quiet, coiled, and waiting to strike. The soft hum of Leonard's shower echoed faintly through the hallway pipes. Each drop of water that hit the tile sent a tremor through my chest. Marcus paced the living room like a caged animal, palms on his hips, eyes darting toward every sound. I sat in my rocking chair, fingers pressed tightly against my phone, the last message still glowing on the screen. "Do not trust Leonard, and do not trust the woman in the red coat." That sentence pulsed like a heartbeat in my mind. Marcus stopped pacing. "Mom, when did you see her?" I swallowed, my voice barely rising above a whisper. 2 days ago, across the street. She stood still, almost unnaturally still, like she wasn't waiting for a bus or talking on the phone. She was just watching. Marcus's brows furrowed in concentration. "Watching who? You? Leonard?" I opened my mouth, but the truth rose like a cold tide. I didn't know. All I remembered was her red coat, bright as fresh blood fluttering in the wind, her expression unreadable, her eyes locked onto my house. I'd simply straightened my shawl and gone back inside, dismissing it as the odd passing of a stranger. I should have trusted my instinct then, the instinct that whispered something was out of place, that instinct I had spent years silencing, convincing myself I was too old, too lonely, too afraid to question good things. Now that instinct screamed. Marcus crouched beside me, placing a steadying hand on my shoulder. "Mom, we need to call the police." I shook my head. "Not yet." Marcus blinked. "Not yet? Mom, he forged documents. He has another identity. Someone in a red coat is watching the house. What more do you need?" My lips trembled. "Proof," Marcus's voice cracked. "We have proof." "No," I whispered, clutching the shawl tighter around me. "We have suspicions. And forged papers can be explained away. Leonard knows how to twist truth. He's been doing it for years." Marcus's face softened with helplessness. "Mom, I won't be dismissed as a confused old woman," I said, my voice suddenly sharper, stronger. "Not again, not this time." Marcus sat back, studying me with something like awe, as if realizing, for the first time, that his mother had a warrior buried somewhere beneath her wrinkles and soft sweaters. The shower shut off. Footsteps padded across the hallway floor. Marcus shot upright, tense as wire. "He's coming!" My pulse hammered harder. I gripped the chair's arms, taking a steadying breath. Leonard stepped into the living room wearing a dark robe, steam drifting behind him like mist. His hair was damp, slicked back neatly. His expression was composed, untroubled, dangerously smooth. He moved with the quiet confidence of a man who believed he controlled every outcome. He paused at the foot of the stairs and looked between Marcus and me. "Well," he said lightly, "have we calmed down?" Marcus snarled. "You're unbelievable." Leonard ignored him and addressed me directly. "Ruth, sweetheart, let's sit and talk." I didn't move. Marcus stood beside me like a wall. "She's not going anywhere with you." Leonard's gaze hardened. "This is between husband and wife." "Husband," Marcus hissed. "You mean predator." Leonard stepped closer. The room felt too small, his presence too large. His robe brushed against the hardwood floor, leaving a faint trail of shower steam behind him. "Ruth," he murmured, "you know I love you." My stomach churned. Once those words melted me. Now they curdled. Marcus tightened his fists. "Love? You're trying to steal everything she owns." Leonard sighed, a soft, disappointed sound. "Ruth, your son is emotional. Young men always are when they feel replaced." Marcus took a hard step forward. "Don't you dare manipulate her." Leonard tilted his chin. His eyes glittering with a quiet threat Marcus didn't see. But I did, because I knew Leonard's tells. The way his jaw tightened slightly, the way his fingers flexed, the way his voice softened right before he said something devastating. "Marcus," Leonard said, "you should go home. This is not your house, and your mother does not need your protection." Marcus's breath shuddered. "Mom, say the word. We'll walk out together." Leonard looked at me with softened eyes. "Ruth, sweetheart, tell him." My hand trembled on the arm of the chair. Marcus kneeled beside me. "Mom, look at me. You do not have to stay with this man. You do not have to explain yourself. You do not owe him anything." The two faces hovered before me, one filled with love, desperation, fear for me, the other filled with confidence, calculation, and quiet menace. I lifted my chin slowly. "Leonard, I want the truth." He blinked. "The truth is simple. I love you. The truth about your other identity." A flicker moved across his face, something dark and fleeting. "That was a long time ago. You said we talked about a trust. We never did." He hesitated. "You didn't sign it," Marcus said coldly. "I know for a fact she didn't." Leonard sighed, looking at Marcus with cold pity. "Your mother forgets things sometimes. It's normal at her age. Stress, overwhelm. You should be kind to her." No. Oh no. There it was. The weapon I feared the most. The one men like Leonard used to silence women my age, to erase our voices, to rewrite our memories, to claim we didn't understand things clearly. My spine straightened. "Leonard?" I whispered. "Sit down." Marcus blinked. "Mom?" Leonard looked almost pleased, as if thinking I had been bent back into submission. He lowered himself slowly onto the sofa. I remained in my rocking chair, the old wood creaking beneath me. The lamp beside me flickered once more, brief light, then shadow. I folded my hands in my lap, steadying myself. "Leonard," I said softly, "how long did you know her?" He frowned. "Know who?" "The woman in the red coat." His face paled. Marcus stiffened. "He knows her?" Leonard recovered quickly, offering a thin smile. "I don't know any woman in a red coat." "You hesitated," I said quietly. Leonard's jaw tightened. "You're imagining things. And you're lying." The silence that followed was sharp enough to slice through flesh. Marcus whispered, "Mom, how do you know?" "Because," I said, eyes fixed on Leonard. "2 days ago she turned toward me and smiled." Leonard's mask faltered, slightly, barely, but enough. I leaned forward, voice low, calm, deadly. "And it was the same smile you gave me the first night we met." Marcus blinked in shock. "Mom," Leonard stared at me, horror blooming behind his eyes. "Oh yes," I continued, my voice as soft as the rustling rain against the window. "They call it a mirror smile, the one con artists use to make their victims feel seen, heard, special. I didn't recognize it at first, but I do now." The veins in Leonard's neck throbbed. Marcus surged to his feet. "So she is involved?" Leonard didn't answer, which was an answer. I lifted my phone slowly. Leonard's eyes widened just slightly. "What is that?" he asked. "A message," I said softly, "from someone who knows the truth about you, about her." Lightning flashed again, illuminating Leonard's face, drained of color, tight with fear he was trying desperately to hide. Marcus moved closer to him, fists clenched, but I held up a trembling hand. "No, Marcus. Let him sit. Let him listen." Leonard swallowed, his composure cracking at the edges. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange warmth bloom in my chest, a strength I hadn't felt in years. "Leonard," I said quietly, "who is she?" His lips pressed into a thin white line. I leaned in closer. "Who is the woman in the red coat?" Leonard opened his mouth, but before he could speak, a sharp knock exploded against the front door. 3 loud, forceful bangs. Marcus and Leonard both whipped their heads toward the sound. My heart dropped. I rose to my feet, shaking violently, gripping my shawl as if it were the only thing keeping me from falling apart. The knocking came again, harder. "Mom," Marcus whispered, stepping toward me. "Stay behind me." "But Leonard." Leonard stood slowly, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked afraid. Truly afraid. His voice was barely a whisper. "Ruth, don't open that door." The knocking stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving an aftershock of silence that thrummed in my bones. For a moment the only sound was the rain, soft now, like distant fingers on glass. Then a voice, thin and urgent, floated through the wood of the door. "Ruth Carter? It's me, please, open." The name on the lips steadied me. It was a stranger's voice, yes, but there was something about the cadence that made my skin prickle. Not a command, not a threat, an ask, a plea. Marcus moved like a shadow across the room and placed himself between the door and me. Leonard stayed very still, like a statue warmed by steam, watching us with eyes that darted for advantage. My heart thudded hard against my ribs, loud enough that I felt certain whoever stood outside could hear it. "Who is it?" Marcus called, voice low and fierce. "Please, Ruth, please answer," the voice replied again, closer this time, a soft rustle of fabric. "It's Anna. Anna Morales. I'm at the gate." There it was, the woman's name, Anna, red coat. The memory of that bright sweep of fabric across the street 2 days ago rushed back, sudden and vivid. The flash of red against gray sky, the profile of a face I thought I'd only glanced at. Now the face asked me to open the door. Leonard's jaw worked. His hand reached for his robe, then stopped. He leaned in, the shadow of him falling across Marcus like a cloud. "Don't," he said quietly. "We don't know who's out there. It could be anyone." I looked at Marcus. His shoulders were broad, set, his mouth a line of stone. I looked again at Leonard. His eyes were too hard in a way I'd never liked. I felt both of their arms of protection and threat at the same time. For weeks, I'd been learning how to tell the difference. "Let her in," I said. Marcus's head snapped to me. "Mom, please," I repeated, firmer. "We need information. If she's here, she could help." Leonard's face tightened with annoyance, an expression that always arrived when I made decisions he didn't orchestrate. "Mother, you might be playing with fire." "I know what I'm doing." My voice surprised me by staying steady. The shawl over my shoulders felt warm and strangely like an armor now. I am not a thing to be bartered, I thought, and the thought felt true enough to stand on. Marcus crossed to the door and opened it a crack. Anna stood there in the rain, soaked at the hems of her red coat, hair dark plastered against her cheeks. She looked small against the tall wood of the front door, but her eyes were huge, wet, urgent, alive. In her hands she clutched a plastic envelope, limp from the rain, and when she stepped inside she smelled of wet pavement and coffee, a sharp, honest scent that cut through the steam from Leonard's shower. Her gaze darted between the three of us, then softened when it landed on me. "Ruth," she breathed. "Oh God, I'm glad you're here," I swallowed. "You sent the messages." Anna nodded, rain slipping off the collar. "I did. I didn't know who else to call. I saw things that made me." She stopped and pressed her palm flat on the plastic folder she held as if to keep its contents from flying away. "I used to work with him." Leonard flinched like someone punched him. For the first time, I saw true fear cross his face. Sharp, animal, not the carefully measured discomfort he'd shown earlier. Marcus stepped forward, fury written in every line of his body. "You worked with him," Marcus repeated. "What did you see?" Anna's hands trembled as she pushed the folder across the coffee table. Papers, photos, a thumb drive. The smell of printer ink and rain rose up. Ordinary, domestic, dangerous. "I thought he was a different man," she said, voice breaking. "When I met him at the clinic, he came in pretending he was Mr. Harrington. He said he was managing a retirement fund. He had stories, big ones about investments, philanthropy. People listened. I did. I shouldn't have. But I did." She paused and blinked as if sweeping memory away. Then things started to happen. Donations that weren't recorded. Accounts opened in names that people didn't use. A company he said was a shell for charity. Money went through it and came out somewhere else. Small things at first, then bigger. I saw him with another woman. Sometimes a lawyer, sometimes no one. And he always looked like a man who was keeping a promise to someone else. The thumb drive glinted on the table. My hands hovered above it, and Marcus grabbed it with the fierce, protective motion of a man who has been ready to fight his whole life. "What's on it?" Marcus demanded. Anna looked at Leonard, then down at the floor. Her voice was a whisper that grew like a crack into the room. Emails, spreadsheets, bank transfers. Leonard, signed things in other names. He created a trust for R. Carter, but the signatures were done from a phone registered in another county. I copied as much as I could. She swallowed hard. I left when I realized I was complicit. The room shrank. The rain outside seemed to drum in time with my heartbeat. Leonard's face was a mask of contained rage and rapid calculation. I could see the wheels turning. Insurance, divorce lawyers, the sort of men who could make evidence disappear. He moved to stand in front of the table, blocking the folder with his body. "You shouldn't have come here," he said. Anna's gaze did not flick away. "He's not alone," she said. "There's a woman, red coat, who scopes places, marks who to target. She used to be his associate. She's good at it. She knows how to make people believe, but she also has a weakness. She thinks she's owed something. She makes mistakes when she thinks she's getting more than she already has. Marcus's fist tightened around the thumb drive. Why are you telling us this now? Anna's lips trembled. Because I saw the papers. I saw your name, Ruth. I knew what he was about to do. I couldn't live with it. I felt a strange combination of gratitude and sour anger. The woman, this Anya, had risked herself to come here. She'd soaked herself in rain to hand us proof. A part of me wanted to fling my arms around her. Another part wanted to shake her until every secret spilled out. Leonard's voice cut through the room like glass. You're lying! She's lying! Anna's eyes flashed with a fire I hadn't expected. Listen, she lifted her chin. Look at those pictures. She pushed a photo across the table. It showed Leonard, no, the man I'd called Leonard, standing beside a woman in a red coat, both in front of a bank. Another photo showed signatures, documents with roots of money marked in small hand. Another showed a screenshot, his phone logging into a donor account under a name that matched the background check Marcus had shown me weeks ago. Marcus cursed, a sound torn from the throat of a man who'd been trapped too long. This is it. This is proof. Leonard's mouth was an angry line. He moved toward the photo as if to snatch it, but Anna's hand slapped his arm, light, stinging, defiant. You don't touch me, she said fiercely. Not anymore. He stared at her, then at me. Ruth, he said, low and dangerous, you invited her in. Why? My voice came out soft but untrembling. Because I want the truth. Leonard's face darkened. You'll regret this. In the kitchen, the kettle, the old one I preferred for tea, let out a small, familiar whistle. Ordinary life tried to continue at the periphery of a storm that had become a hurricane in the center of the room. Anna turned to me, wet lashes framing her eyes. There's more, she said. There are recordings. He thinks he's careful, but not careful enough. He underestimates how much people keep, how many little things we all hold on to. If you want, I can give it all to Marcus. We can go to the police. We can... Marcus looked at her with a sharp hope that nearly broke my heart. We should go now, he said. We should make a copy, get to the station. I looked at Leonard. He was watching us like a man watching a chessboard he'd set himself, the corner squares lit with dreams of victory. For the first time, I heard no confidence in his voice, only a taut fear. I stood slowly. The wood of the rocking chair protested with a soft groan. I felt older and oddly steadier than I had in years. We'll do this my way, I said. Marcus blinked. Your way? Yes. I folded the shawl tighter around my shoulders, feeling the fabric like a promise. We'll get copies. We'll be careful. We'll not run headlong into a lion's den. We will not be the kind of people the police write off as hysterical or confused. Anna's shoulders drooped with relief. Leonard's mouth tightened. He stepped forward and spoke in a voice that tried to charm but failed. Ruth, whatever you do, remember who's at your side. I am your husband. I'm trying to keep you safe. I looked at him. Really looked, with the sharpness of a woman who had been underestimated for decades and now intended to be seen. You preserved me from loneliness, I said quietly. You made me feel wanted. I looked down at the wet photographs, at Anna's shaking fingers, at Marcus's clenched jaw, and you tried to steal my life. Leonard's face went white, then red, then hard as flint. Outside, the rain stopped. The world held its breath on the other side of the glass. Inside, we were no longer prey. We were a collection of witnesses and a woman in a red coat who'd come back to make amends. And I, Ruth Carter, felt the first true edge of the plan that would become my defense, or my revenge, begin to take shape. The pounding on my front door stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving behind a ringing silence that felt louder than thunder. Marcus stood between me and the entrance, shoulders squared, breath sharp, ready for anything. Anna's trembling hands clutched the envelope on the table. And Leonard. Oh, Leonard had gone completely still. Not angry, not confident, not calculating, just afraid. A fear that hid itself poorly behind a rigid jaw and widened eyes. I had never seen that expression on his face before, not even during the worst arguments. It wasn't fear of being caught. It was fear of something, or someone, outside. Another knock, this time softer, deliberate, like a finger tracing danger across the wood. My breath shook. Who is it? I called, my voice steadier than I felt. Silence. Then a slow exhale from the other side, barely audible. Anna grabbed my wrist. "Don't open it," she whispered. "If it's who I think it is, she doesn't knock unless—" Leonard snapped, "Enough." And that one word, sharp, panicked, made my stomach twist. He knew. He knew exactly who was outside. Marcus's eyes flicked toward him. "Who is it, Leonard?" Leonard swallowed. "No one important." But his tone betrayed him. His pupils betrayed him. The slight tremor in his hand betrayed him. And betrayal is something even the quietest grandmother recognizes on sight. Another gentle knock, this time followed by a voice. Soft, female. Calm. "Ruth? It's cold out here. May I come in?" My blood froze. I knew that voice. I had heard it 2 days ago, carried by the wind as she stood across the street in her bright red coat, watching the house with eyes that didn't blink often enough. Marcus whispered, "Mom, is that her?" I nodded slowly. "The woman in the red coat." Anna stiffened, her nails digging into her palm. "Her name is Mara. If she's here—" "Ruth, she's not here to talk." Leonard turned sharply toward Anna. "Shut your mouth." But this time Anna didn't flinch. She lifted her chin, a quiet rebellion, a small fire sparking in a woman who had spent too long under someone's shadow. "No," she said softly, "you don't get to command me anymore." The doorknob rattled gently. Mara's voice floated through again, warmer now, unsettlingly pleasant. "Ruth, dear, Leonard told me so much about you. Should we continue this conversation inside?" I felt my knees weaken. Marcus placed a hand on my back. Anna stepped closer. Leonard took a step forward, but Marcus blocked him with one arm. "No," Marcus said. "Nobody opens that door." Leonard's mask cracked. "Marcus, you don't understand." "Oh, I understand plenty," Marcus snapped. "You're scared of her." The silence that followed was answer enough. The air inside the house thickened, heavy like the moments before lightning strikes. Mara knocked again, 3 soft taps. "Ruth," she said calmly, "I know you're frightened, but everything is going to be all right. Just open the door." The storm clouds outside parted just enough for a streak of pale moonlight to slide across the window, illuminating the silhouette behind the glass, tall, graceful, still. Her red coat almost glowing. Something inside me shifted, not into fear but into clarity. Leonard and Mara were not lone predators circling a wounded animal. They were a pair, a partnership, a plan. "How long?" I whispered. Leonard blinked. "What?" "How long were you two working together?" His throat bobbed. "Ruth, sweetheart." "Don't call me that." Thunder rumbled in the distance, trembling through the floorboards. Anna spoke softly, almost apologetically. "They've been doing this for years." Marcus exhaled sharply. "Scamming older women?" Anna nodded. "Women with assets, women with property, women who trust easily." The flicker of pain that moved through me was sharp but quiet. I pressed a hand to my chest, steadying myself. Leonard cleared his throat. "Ruth, I can explain." Mara's voice cut through the door again, smooth as honey. "Leonard, will you let me in?" The sound of her speaking his name, so intimate, so sure, made something deep in me snap. Marcus stepped closer to the door. "What do you want?" he called. Silence. Then, "I just want to speak to Ruth," Marcus scoffed. "Over my dead—" Before he finished, something slid under the door. A white envelope, thin, clean, my name written across it in looping, elegant handwriting. Ruth. My hands trembled as Marcus bent to pick it up. "Don't," Leonard hissed. Marcus ignored him and opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. He turned it toward me. My breath left me. It was a photo of me, standing in the grocery store, 3 weeks ago, reaching for a can on the top shelf, completely unaware someone had been watching me through a camera lens. Marcus flipped the photo over. On the back, written in the same elegant script, "You were chosen." My knees nearly buckled. "Chosen for what?" Leonard stepped toward me, panic leaking through his voice. "Ruth, listen to me. Don't believe anything she says." Marcus shoved him back. "Enough, no more lies." But Anna was pale, trembling. "She's marking her final target," she whispered. "Once she delivers the photograph, it means the plan is in motion." "What plan?" Marcus demanded. Anna swallowed hard. "They take everything, financially, legally, emotionally, everything. The trust document was just the beginning." My fingers curled around the arm of my rocking chair. I felt anger rising, quiet, simmering, powerful. I straightened my back. "Marcus," I said softly, "hand me the photo." He hesitated. "Mom, please." He placed it gently in my palm. The glossy paper was cold. The version of me in the picture looked innocent, vulnerable, unaware of the danger creeping into her life. But the woman standing here now, she was no longer unaware. A soft tap on the window made us all turn. Mara stood there, her face half lit by moonlight, her expression serene. She placed her hand on the glass, fingers splayed gently as if offering comfort. But her eyes held nothing human, just calculation, quiet, confident, certain. "Ruth," she whispered through the glass, her breath fogging the pain. "Let me in, dear, it's cold." I took a slow breath, and for the first time in hours, I felt something steady inside me, a growing fire, a plan forming, not out of panic, out of clarity. I lifted my chin. "No," I said firmly. Mara blinked, surprised. Marcus stepped closer to me. Anna stared, breath caught. Leonard paled. I spoke again, stronger. "You don't come into my home," Mara tilted her head, studying me like a specimen behind glass. Then she smiled, a small chilling curve of her lips. "That," she murmured softly, "is unfortunate." And with that, she turned and walked away into the night, her red coat slicing through the darkness like a wound. Leonard exhaled shakily. "Ruth, you've made a mistake." I turned to him. "No," I said, voice low, firm, cold. "You did." Because in that moment, with the remnants of rain whispering against the windows and the photograph trembling in my hand, I realized something. They had chosen me, but they had no idea who they had chosen. I was not the weak one. I was simply quiet. And quiet women, when pushed far enough, become storms. The house felt different after Mara disappeared into the darkness. The air shifted, less like fear, more like the moment right before dawn, where everything holds its breath, waiting for a choice to be made. Marcus stood by the window, watching the street for any sign of that red coat. Anna paced near the sofa, clutching herself as if holding her courage together with her bare hands. Leonard? He hovered near the hallway like a trapped animal, moving just enough to pretend he had options but not enough to believe it. And me? I sat in my rocking chair, the photograph of myself trembling lightly between my fingers. It was strange, staring at that picture. That version of me, soft, unaware, still believing in love after 67 years of trying, felt like a stranger. The woman holding it now was harder, sharper. A woman with a spine stiffened by betrayal and a jaw set in quiet defiance. I looked up. "We're ending this tonight." Anna and Marcus turned to me. Leonard's head jerked up. "Ruth," Leonard began, but I stood, slowly, calmly, my shawl slipping slightly off my shoulder, catching the golden light of the floor lamp, making me look almost spectral. Older, wiser, and no longer afraid. "Sit down, Leonard." He didn't move. Marcus stepped behind him, not touching him, just near him, a reminder that tonight Leonard was not in charge. Leonard slowly lowered himself into the armchair. I took the seat across from him. Our knees almost touched. His robe smelled faintly of his cologne, a scent I once found comforting. Now it made my skin crawl. "Leonard," I said quietly, "you will tell me everything." He straightened a little, trying to regain the posture of a man in control. "Ruth, sweetheart, I raised a hand. Love didn't bring Mara to my door with a photograph. Love didn't write that forged trust. Love didn't take pictures of me in grocery stores." I leaned forward. "Tell the truth." His throat bobbed. I saw it clearly now. The fear wasn't for me. It wasn't even for Marcus or Anna. It was for something, or someone, bigger than all of us. "She's not who you think," he whispered. "Then who is she?" Marcus growled. Leonard hesitated. "She's the one who finds the targets. And you're the one who marries them," I said softly. His silence was answer enough. Anna swayed slightly where she stood, as if hearing her own trauma play back in echo. "Why me?" I asked. Leonard looked down at his hands. "Because you were kind." The word was a slap. "Kind," I repeated, voice shaking. "You targeted me because I was kind?" He lifted his eyes. "Because you were lonely." Those words cracked something deep inside me, not just anger, but grief for the woman I used to be. Marcus's voice shook. "You're trash, both of you." "No," Anna said softly. "Mara's worse. They always send her ahead. She studies women, tests their routines, finds out who their closest relatives are, who trusts them, who doesn't." Her voice trembled. She took pictures of you, Ruth. That means the plan was far along. She won't stop, Leonard whispered. She never stops. Good. Let her come, I thought, because I wasn't the same woman she'd taken pictures of. I stepped toward the dining table and pulled out my purse. My hands didn't shake. I retrieved my old perfectly kept cell phone, the one with every bank alert, every message, every record. I'm calling the police, Marcus said. No, I replied. Marcus blinked. Mom? No police, I repeated firmly. Not yet. Leonard smirked slightly, thinking he understood. See, she knows it won't. But the look I gave him wiped the smile clean off his face. I'm not protecting you, Leonard. He swallowed. I stepped to the table and spread out the folder Anna brought. Documents, screenshots, bank statements, forged signatures, photographs, and at the center, my own signature forged on the trust document. Leonard, I said softly, do you understand what this is? He clenched his jaw. Ruth, we can fix this. No, you're going to fix it. Marcus crossed his arms. How? I held Leonard's gaze. You're going to confess on camera. He froze. Anna gasped. Marcus grinned slowly. Leonard shook his head. No, absolutely not. You will, I said gently, lowering myself back into my rocking chair. Because if you don't, Mara will find a way to get rid of you too. His face went white. I leaned back, my voice soft, steady. Men like you never realize when they become disposable. He stared at me, terror blooming behind his eyes. Outside, the street quieted. The rain had stopped completely. Even the wind had stilled, as if the night itself wanted to hear what would happen next. I handed my phone to Marcus. Open the camera, Marcus did. Leonard sat rigid, his breath shallow. Start talking, I said. For a long moment he resisted, his lips tight, his pride bruised, his fear of Mara warring with his fear of prison. Then, with a shudder, he broke. My name, he began, voice cracking, is not Leonard Carter. He stated his real name, his history, his crimes. On his partnership with Mara, how long he'd been doing this, how many he'd fooled, and exactly what their plan for me was. Anna cried quietly. Marcus's jaw tightened with each word. I sat utterly still, watching my husband crumble under the weight of truth. Finally, he said what mattered most. I forged the trust document. I planned to take Ruth's assets. She had no knowledge. She did not sign it willingly. Marcus ended the recording. Leonard collapsed back in the chair, sweating. Ruth, he whispered, Mara will kill me for this. I looked at him with a calmness I didn't know I possessed. You should have considered that before you chose me as your target. At dawn, I drove us, Marcus and Anna in tow, to the police station. The sky was barely gray when we arrived, soft morning fog curling around the building like a shroud. I walked in with my shawl wrapped tight, my purse hanging from my elbow, and the phone in my hand containing Leonard's confession. But I didn't go to the front desk. I asked for Detective Hargrove, a woman I had known, quietly, for years. A woman whose mother I used to take food to during her chemo treatments. A woman who once said to me, Mrs. Carter, if you ever need me, just come. She recognized me instantly. Ruth, what's wrong? I handed her the phone. As she listened, her eyebrows drew together, then her jaw clenched. Then she nodded once. Where is he now? In my living room, I replied calmly, waiting for Mara to come for him. She didn't waste a second. Within minutes, squad cars were dispatched. Officers escorted Leonard away from my home in handcuffs, his face pale, his robe hanging off one shoulder like humiliation draped in cotton. Mara. She was caught later that same day, away from my home, away from my son, away from any woman she might have marked next. The news reported her arrest as part of a multi-state elder financial exploitation scheme. They didn't mention me, or Leonard's confession, or the night she came to my door. Some storms do their work quietly. A week later, I sat on my porch, the sun warming my face, my shawl folded neatly beside me. Marcus sat beside me, sipping coffee. Anna sat across from us, a new light in her eyes, as if freedom had given her breath again. And me? I felt whole. Not untouched by betrayal, not unchanged by fear, but whole, strong, alive. I exhaled softly, watching a bird land on the railing. You did it, Marcus said. No, I replied gently. We did. But deep in my chest, I knew the truth. I had discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed. A quiet, durable, unbreakable strength. Because sometimes the quietest women deliver the loudest justice. If you stayed until the end of this story, tell me in the comments. How do you feel about Ruth's revenge, and what would you have done in her position? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story like this. Stories filled with betrayal, truth, strength, and justice.